quickly will the banks be able to action any plans that you have? So, Robbie, we might go to you on that first.
Yeah, well, I suppose we're still working through the how piece. As what we're going to do, I suppose, is there to support businesses. So the likes of putting payment breaks in place or increasing working capital where it's needed. That's there. So what we're working through at the moment is working on the most simplified process that we possibly can in order to do that. So that's the central bank. We're meeting with our CEOs today, the bank CEOs today, in order to streamline the process there and the paperwork needed to do that. So for the moment, look, we can do it as quick as possible is probably the answer. The quicker people engage with us, the quicker we can get things into the system and get them moving. But it's still being worked on as to make it the most streamlined we can.
Great, thanks. John, Helen, do you concur with that? I suppose moving things as fast as possible?
Yeah, this is unusual for us as well in terms of making sure that we're in the right space in terms of supporting our customers. And as Robbie said, it's going to take a few days for us to have our systems up and running in terms of what we need to do to give the quick response to alleviate the fears that customers might have in terms of their future repayments over the next number of months. So we're just asking people to bear with us. But as Robbie said, it's so important that people contact us now, so we get a line of sight as to what they may need. And as soon as we have our systems up and running next week, hopefully, then we'll be able to deal with this as efficiently as possible.
Okay, so just on that, Helen, are you still with us?
Yeah, I am. So just on that, yeah, look, similar to the guys, I suppose, like we have a number of moratoriums, say, approved for people already, and, some working capital facilities. I suppose the key piece on that is about the streamlining of the process. So in relation to, for example, maybe a capital and interest moratorium for 3 months, we have some of those approved, but the key piece there is having it as streamlined and as easy for, I suppose, both the customer and the bank as possible. So I suppose the paperwork around that is the one piece that just we're working on at present. So we're hoping again to have that sorted by tomorrow or Monday, so that it is just maybe a confirmation that we'll issue to the customer for them to sign. That's on our side, rather than having to issue full offer letters and things like that. So that's, I suppose, where we are. So it's just to bear with us at present, but the requests can obviously come in the meantime if people want to have that. So to have them, as Robbie said and John said as well, is about customers contacting us and making sure that they've engaged with us so that we are getting those approvals in place for them.
Okay, and just that leads to my next question. We've had somebody come in, Helen, just saying that they've been trying to get through since Monday, and they've sent a letter with their proposal to their relationship manager for moratorium. Will this be sufficient notification? So I take it obviously lines, emails and whatever are very, very busy, so you are getting to people as quick as you can. But I suppose they're kind of out on a limb since Monday. Is that letter, this notification with their proposals enough? Or do they need to do more?
So I suppose, yeah, look, we are, Linda, experiencing significant call volumes and, like traffic, I suppose, on all lines of communication at present. So, look, I'm not hugely surprised to hear that, but obviously we are trying to put things in place to get that sorted and to get an improvement, I suppose, in that process. Issuing the letter is obviously putting us on notice of what they want to do. So yes, absolutely, that's the right thing to do if they're unable to get through on the phone. But we still do have to, at this point in time anyway, approve that, whatever they are looking for. So it is putting us on notice, but there will still require approval of whatever they are looking for, and, maybe some paperwork just to confirm that that's in place. So just saying, the key thing here, I suppose, for people is to engage with us so that they have a repayment arrangement put in place, rather than, say, cancelling a repayment or something like that.
Okay, and guys, I'll go over to you guys as well. John, same for you. Just make contact anyway at this point, and the notification will be dealt with.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I suppose we haven't the line of sight to what the actual document that we'll be using to make sure we expedite the requests for the customers. So, we need to make sure that we populate that with all the right answers in terms of customer position. So certainly, the contact, if they wish to write by letter, there's no issue with that. Emails, whatever the case may be. But once we're on notice, at least then we have something to work on. And we say, well, look, and we try to deal with them in the way that they've come in to ourselves as quickly as they come in. We'll try to get back to people and get them sorted next week.
Perfect. Guys, email okay at the moment if they can't get through?
Sorry, yeah, no, I think it's more case of like that, like the two guys. People engage with us, so the likes of sending us in a letter requesting be it a moratorium, be it increased working capital, and that sets us on notice that that's what they're looking for, and allows us to say when we have our processes streamlined or when things are signed off and ready to go, that we can act quickly then on that.
Okay, there's just a question came in there to the Q&A section. Not sure if you guys can see it, but it's our SBCI looking into any coronavirus related schemes?
Yes, there is, Linda, there is ongoing conversations at the moment in terms of SBCI coming in. I think they're looking at a fund of something like 200 million, but I don't have any further detail at the moment. I know my colleagues said to me the other day that this was on the agenda. And so as soon as we have word in relation to that, we'll certainly be back out to our customers if they can avail it.
Perfect.
On that, if you don't mind, just for a second, sorry, just on that, I do know on the SBCI website, exactly as John has said, they have highlighted a 200 million that they're working on, that a scheme for eligible businesses. And I think what it is loans up to 1.5 million with potentially the first 500,000 unsecured. And also that the credit guarantee scheme is under SBCI for businesses. So the SBCI website does have some detail there, but I don't think the links are operational, as John said, just yet. But they do have details of what they're planning to put in place. And again, I would think are putting the procedures and paperwork in behind it.
Okay, so just to clarify on that then, Robbie, which was one of our questions that came in, what supports are available from the banks for SMEs right now?
Well, right now, the supports are there, like that for payment breaks with regards to loans. So we can put payment breaks of up to 3 months in place for customers. Working capital is really a big thing. So what if someone needs working capital in order to pay wages, in order to pay for the social welfare supports that are there, and then recoup them back at a later date? That's another thing. So if it's a case of someone has an overdraft and they need to increase that overdraft out, that's working capital support there, and we can do that on a temporary basis for people. But again, it comes back to engaging with us and seeing what the most suitable is, or what the most practical solution is for each customer. So the engagement piece is really important, and that can be through likes of phoning the central number that's available on our website, coming into one of our branches, be it the 2 branches, one in Ardkeen or the Hyper Centre branch, or our branch in Dungarvan, or engaging with us via email.
Okay, and just in terms of, John, we might go to you on this one. So what information does the bank require from SMEs to put these supports in place?
Well, I suppose at this point, we just really need to see how customers are going to be impacted in terms of COVID. Some people, it depends on their business. It depends on whether their supplies might be impacted, their staffing levels might be impacted. So it's really just to get a kind of a cover story on why they need it, and to be able to understand that, look, how long is this going to last, and what support, as Robbie said, either in the name, by increased working capital facility or whatever. But we just need to get a kind of a clear picture from our customers. Say, look, this is the situation at the moment. It's going to be like this for the next while because of A, B, and C. And as long as we get that documented and we can understand, so that when we come in 3 months' time to review this again, and hopefully this will all have passed by then. But we just need to have the correct story there around what they require, so we can give the right response to them, and they can understand that, look, what they want to happen, what's going to happen, and how we're going to handle it in 3 months' time when we come to review their situation.
Okay, and just a question, Helen, you might respond on this one. It's just come in from somebody listening in. Is there certainty as yet regarding credit rating and future lending impact of repayment break requests?
So in relation to that, like if somebody puts in an alternative repayment arrangement on a loan facility, it's an approved concession for a period of time, so it won't impact their credit rating. I suppose there is work being done at the same time, though, with the central bank in relation to this at the moment, depending on maybe if that might go on for a prolonged period or anything like that. So, once somebody puts in place an alternative repayment arrangement in relation to their facility, they are in line with the terms of what's approved with the bank, so it won't have an impact on their credit rating. So that's the way it stands, I suppose, at the moment. I don't know if either of the guys want to make comment on that as well, but that's...
Yeah, I'll sorry, and thanks. I think the important piece here is around that this is an uncertain time, and it's unprecedented, I suppose, from a normal day-to-day business. So the central bank do have a role to play in this, and that's they're being engaged today with regards to how the long-term effects, if any, that there might be with regards to, and one of the people's credit ratings, if we are taking payment breaks and that, and they're temporary. So the central bank, a lot will start to come out over the next day or so, following the engagement with the central bank in relation to that. But I mean, you have to just, I think, for the time being, it's a matter of these are unprecedented times, so we need to kind of just manage them as best we can.
Okay, so it just seems to be at this point all about engaging, trying to either email, phone, get through in any way that you can, put your plans in place, and I suppose we just have to wait it out and be patient at this point. Gerald, I think you might have a couple of questions there as well. Do you want to come in at this point?
Yeah, I do. And look, apologies for the delay in getting to you. And good afternoon, and thank you for participating in this third webinar as we try to work together to get through these challenging times. And as you can imagine, we're inundated with calls and emails from members looking for support. So we're delighted that John, Helen, and Robbie have joined us today. I have a number of questions here, Linda, that have come through to my own email, and it's what is the position with mortgage approval in principle, assuming the borrower is still employed and likely to remain so, for people who are currently sale agreed on a property or whom intend to purchase over the coming weeks, months? Do the banks intend to stand over the mortgage approvals?
John here.
Yeah.
Yeah, AIB policy is that we will stand over the approvals as they are at the moment. There'll be no change in terms of that, where a person employment is continuing.
That's great. And Helen, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, same as John at the moment. Obviously, if somebody's employment situation changed, then yeah, we intend to stand over those. Yeah.
Great. I'm still experiencing. I presume you can hear me still.
Yeah.
Because I can't see anyone now at this stage. But anyway, I will assume you can. I have another question here, Linda, and it's: what is the procedure for requesting a deferral on loan repayment? Will it affect their credit rating? How should they approach this? Example, via email or ringing the bank? Is there a standard form created that would capture all the information you request? Anyone to take that?
Yeah,
okay. Robbie.
We've probably answered a lot of that anyway with the previous questions, but I think the important message again, and probably repeating myself, is to engage, and be that through our branches in Waterford City and in Dungarvan. The branches are open, they're operational, they're staffed. So if people need, they can't get through on the phone or they can't get someone on email, the branches are there as well to deliver like that documentation or letters requesting payment breaks or increased working capital facilities or whatever it is. And then the staff can ring you back if need be to do that. So look, the important piece is to engage via the various channels that are available.
Okay. So one other one here. Just bear with me. Yeah, here's an interesting one here. To enable collaboration and responses to ensure business, banks and states work closely to help communities, what's the quantum of cash on deposit in Waterford across all banks, commercial, credit unions? And the person answering the question here assumes the figure is about 2.5 billion. I'll just read out the rest of it so it'll give you a better understanding of where he's coming from. What's the cumulative loss in trade through accounts since March the 1st by sector? retail, tourism, construction, etc. Tourism is 1.1 billion a year to the economy, 5% of total economy and jobs. 20% drop is 200 million, or 2,000 job losses directly. We have to try to prevent that. And then these figures won't be on top of heads, but we want the above figures published weekly, aggregated as neither above or commercially sensitive, what can be actioned centrally and pushed out locally. Now, I know it's a three-phased question or statement. John, do you have anything to add to that?
I think that I would have to bow to higher powers, Jar, in terms of some of the figures sought by your in terms of that question. I think that as we come out of this situation over the next number of months, I'm sure that government agencies will be very quick to publish and to make known various figures that will be of interest to people and hopefully showing confidence going back into the market. I couldn't tell you what figures, the balance or the quantum of cash, etc., that would be applicable. You could get an estimate in terms of accounts for various pillar banks to give you a national picture, but I don't think you could get it broken down to regional areas or counties or anything like that. But I certainly think that, you know, we have a journey to go on this. This is unprecedented, and I'm sure government agencies at a higher level will react to the questions that the public may have in terms of what will the positives that will start to flow in due course once we get out of this scenario.
Yeah, and I suppose, to be fair, John, we're in a phase at the moment that people are just adjusting to working remotely and trying to figure out exactly what help is out there.
Absolutely, and like if you look back, George, 2 weeks ago, we had a very positive retailing conference in the Granville Hotel, where we spoke very much about the future, you know, and things have changed so much since then. And the challenge for us is, as we come out of COVID, is to get back into that scenario again and start painting the positive picture of where business will go. But there are so many other variables now at play that we just have to try get through the next number of months, first of all, and then reassess our position and drive forward again in the southeast.
I can interject there for a minute. There's a good couple of questions after coming in, and I'm just conscious of time. So we might just start with how quickly will you be able to turn around requests? So I suppose that's from the initial engagement to actually acting on them. Do we have a timeline on that yet?
Yeah, I'd take. There's no real timeline at the moment, other than the fact that we're working through to make these type of requests, processing them as quickly and as streamlined as we can. That'll start to kind of become apparent over the next day or so. But look, the engagement piece is the first piece. Getting this signed out and getting things in place should happen quite quickly once we're fully up and running on that, and we hope to have that over the next couple of days.
Okay. John, we might go to you on this one. How far in advance does a bank expect SMEs to forecast cash flows, given that there's very little clarity on how long this will last? Are the banks prepared to approve a contingency fund facility to an individual SME to cover the situation where the downturn lasts beyond 3 months?
Well, first of all, normally you would get cash flows that would last for 12 months. In this situation, obviously, it's not possible. We would always look for an idea in terms of a cash flow for the next 3 months as position stands. But as we've already mentioned, we have to be very careful in terms of what happens at the end of 3 months, so that we don't end up with customers going into a forbearance situation, which is due to European Union regulation. So what I'm saying is that we need a short-term picture for the next 3 months about where things are going. We need regular contact with our customers in the meantime. And at the end of 3 months, to be able to sit down again and say, right, look, where are we now? Is this past? Are we faced with another number of months of this? And a lot of that future beyond 3 months will be dictated by government policy, by what happens in terms of the spread of this virus, how we manage to contain it, as I say, and we can only make that call at that stage. We don't have a crystal ball as to what it will look like. I suppose we have an idea in terms of how it's happened or what it's rolled out like in terms of other countries, But as I say, for a business, 3 months is the magic figure at the moment, and let's look no further than that as a means to support them in the short term.
Robbie, Helen, you agree with that 3-month time frame?
Yeah, I think the likes of looking for cash flow projections. That's probably, I think, at this time and the times we're currently in, I don't think that's very appropriate to be looking for 12 month cash flow projections or even 6 month cash flow projections. I think we have to deal with what we have at the moment, and then in 3 months' time we'll review it and see where we go. So that's probably the type of information we'd be looking for. Would probably be your most recent set of financial accounts to confirm that things were going okay for the last fine, or things were going okay up until your last set of accounts, and then we look to the future then after the 3 month period, or we review it and see where we go after that.
Okay. Sorry, just coming back here as well, somebody lost connection. So their question was the one with regard to staff that are on temporary layoff that have been in the process of going for a mortgage. If the layoff was to last more than 6 weeks, is this going to affect their mortgage application in the future? I think we agreed on that it would still be upheld. Am I right in saying that?
If they're applying for a mortgage, Linda, as distinct from the previous question where they had been approved for a mortgage, if they have been approved for a mortgage and they are continue to be in employment, there's no change in terms of the continuing on with that. The issue really for people who may be faced with a layoff is that obviously they need to look at their own income and their outgoings at the moment. They may well have to step back in terms of the situation until it regularizes for their income over the next number of months, and then go again in terms of the mortgage application. I suppose from the point of view of us assessing an application, it's really based on what their income is at the moment, what we project is going to be into the future. But at this point in time, we can only, they'll have to look at it themselves first of all to see are they content to go ahead. But obviously their income is going to determine as to whether they're going to continue with the application.
Okay, thanks, John. Just another one here. Sorry, they're coming in thick and fast. What is the procedure for moratoriums for leases and loans outside of the main banks? Helen, you might answer this one for me. They're talking here about maybe Grenca, etc. Are they included in the release that the Taoiseach announced on Tuesday?
Those specifically, as far as I know, they are engaging with, we'll call them the alternative finance providers, I would say, outside of the main banks. They are engaging with government as well. But as far as I'm aware, they're not included under the announcement that came out yesterday or the day before. So I presume, as I say, they are engaging directly with them. I don't know the plans in relation to, we'll say, Grenca or whoever the finance house is, but I presume that they will engage or will be part of that process as it moves on.
Okay, and Robbie, we might go to you next. Are Irish banks now sufficiently capitalised to withstand this latest hit? Well,
probably from a lesson from the times we came through, banks are well capitalised. Reading the press release from the Central Bank of Ireland there yesterday evening, they've confirmed that they're going to allow the banks to release some more capital back from the buffers that are there. So I suppose in a straight answer to the question is that yes, the banks are well capitalised compared to where we come from. So I suppose that's a positive in the short term.
Okay, on to the next one. John, I might go to you. Is it expected that the type of requests that will be looked for will involve significant or simple paperwork? I could have written this one. In particular, in a mortgage situation, will a personal finance statement be required? So if anyone out there is like me and hates paperwork, this is for them.
Yeah, the requests, we would hope and expect that the paperwork will be simple in relation to the requirements, the information that we need, and what we need to get a customer to sign off, and then what we can process accordingly. We have to react to this quickly. We cannot be stuck in applications lasting 2 or 3 weeks. We need to get a very slick process in place, and that's what we're working at, as I'm sure Helen and Robbie will attest to themselves in terms of their own financial institutions. But we need to be quick in terms of this, quick response, get it done. But as I say, we need that information quickly from the customer once we have the processes in place to take the information from the customer. in regards to mortgage situation, a personal financial statement, depending on whether you're a self-employed or whether you're an employee, the normal requirements regarding confirmation of your income will apply in that case.
Okay, just kind of bouncing back to a similar question on the last one. Is EBS included in yesterday's announcement? Helen, do you know that? Are they?
I don't believe so, but I might defer to Robbie or John, but just maybe see if they know that one. I don't believe so.
I'm not 100% sure, to be quite honest, but we can find out and maybe feed it back to the chamber once I find it out. There's no problem.
Yeah, no, I don't know, to be honest.
Okay, no problem. Now, where are we? So rather than wait and react in 3 months, where's it going to jumping? How do we get on the front foot and take action now, not wait for Dublin or the government responses, as we can do a lot now to see how we stimulate growth in trade? Anybody? In relation, I see Rob has sent in that question. We first of all have to support the customers that are being impacted by COVID-19. Secondly, we need to continue to support businesses who are less impacted in terms of COVID-19. And we have to move it on. We have to continue to support both of those elements of our business over the next 3 months. You know, we don't know where this will go after 3 months. We would hope, and history suggests, that it will pass and we'll get back into a business as usual situation. But at this point in time, we need to deal with what is in front of us and deal with those that are impacted by COVID-19. First of all, to try to protect our businesses so that when the upturn comes, that they're in a position to get back to where they were before now. Okay. Gerald, have you any other questions after coming in there?
No, and just in relation to that previous question, I suppose it's maybe this isn't the correct forum even for a question like that. I think the time now is for people to try and get their businesses and lives into somewhat of a shape which will reflect the situation that we're in at the moment. So I think it's a discussion that will have to take place before before we see the end of this crisis, and we need to start planning now. But I think this week, people are distracted, trying to get their own lives and businesses into some form of shape that they can. And we're experiencing it even in the chamber, trying to engage with our members remotely, which is something which is, I know we do quite well, but usually it's on a face-to-face basis. So I think everyone is trying to adjust to the situation that we're in at the moment, and especially with planning for the future. I think that is the next phase, and we will certainly have to get teams together to work on this and see what opportunities will come out of this.
Okay, well, I think that's kind of concluded everything. We've no more questions. Gerald, do you want to finish off?
I just like to say, look, thank you for those of you who are engaging with this. We're here to support you in any way we can. So please continue to contact us, and we'll hopefully get out of this in as good a way as we possibly can. So take care, all of you, and keep well and safe.
Thanks, Joe.
Okay, thanks, Joe.
Thank you. Our panelists.
Thank you.
No problem. Thank you. Bye-bye.